This is the first Super Saber Society Video of the Month with Jim LaChance and Bob Cruz. Okay, I am here with Jim LaChance and also Bob Cruz. I'm going to zoom in on their name tag so we know who we're talking to here. And these are two of the oldest fighter pilots in existence that happen to still be alive. But let me tell you, these guys have been through it all from the old days, and just want to interview them and let them talk about some of their experiences in the old days. Jim, let me start off with you. Talk about pilot training in the early days of what you flew. I understand you were an RO in the beginning. And
yes, sir. I was in a 94C at 354 Squadron in Oxnard Air Force Base, California, on the beach. And it was a wonderful squadron. Colonel Carey was our group commander. He was a full bull at 24 years old. He showed up at our base and he said, "I understand you guys do a lot of buzzing here." And he said, "I want you guys to buzz, but I want you to do it on our airfield. If I catch you buzzing off of the airfield," he said, "I'm going to court-martial you, and if you buzz on the airfield, you better do a good job." And it started from there, and he was a disciplinarian, by the way, but a fun guy. We worked our butts off, but on the Friday nights, he got the wives club together, and he said, "No wives in the club. Your husbands will be at beer call on Friday nights. They don't have to drink, and please don't show up so I don't have to kick you out of the club." He says, "This is my wife, Milda, and she doesn't have Colonel's Eagles on her pants." And that was the start of a wonderful, wonderful 3-year tour and a great fighter outfit.
Where'd you start out?
Well, after Moody, and I also started in 94Cs. I was in a class, one of the tail end 94C classes at Moody Air Force Base, and I got an assignment to Dover, Delaware in the 46th Squadron, and I was just a little young second lieutenant, and the word was already out that the squadron was in trouble. They were going to shut it down. I was in Eastern Air Defense, and as the new guy, I pulled a lot of mobile. I got to fly and pull a lot of alert too, of course, but the morale was starting to slide because most of the people were real sharp aviators. They had been in 89s. Half of them had been in 89s in Alaska, and they had some tough flying up there. And I was the new guy on the street, so I tried to learn as much as I could. And then I had a backseater that, of course, was RO from Alaska. He was a sharp guy, and the word was out that because I hadn't been overseas that I would be going to F-89s in Thule, Greenland. And I said, And he did some work with EDAF, Eastern Air Defense, and PACAF wanted 5 people to be 86 dog drivers. And I volunteered, and I ended up scrambling to 41st Air Division. Well, didn't scramble, I was over 2 months later, and signed in at Johnson Air Base, and they said, "Where do you want to go?" And I said, "Oh, well, I don't understand that," but they said, "We have one slot at Misawa in the 4th, and we have, of course, Yokota the 40th, and 68 at Izuki, and 2 of them at Naha, Okinawa." And I said, "I want to stay right here if I can." So I went to the 40th FIS and flew F-86s. F-86Ds, and it was kind of interesting. They gave me a squadron checkout. I'd never been in an 86, and I had about 3 days of ground school, and they said, "You're going to get 5 rides and you're going to be on alert."
Those were the old days for sure. How old are both of you guys?
Well, I guess I'm a little older than Jim. I'm 83, almost 84. I was born in 31.
And Jim is how old?
81. I was born in 1934.
Yeah, well, I'm an absolute youngster compared to you guys. So, Jim, how did you get in the 100 then, and when?
Well, first of all, at Oxnard, Swede Jensen was our squadron commander, and being a guardhouse lawyer, I figured out a way I could go to pilot training within a year. And he told me, he says, "Well, Jim, we really like you, and we'd like you to stay in the squadron." He says, "But we have a lot of assignments to Thule, and if you don't want to stay in the squadron, you can go to Thule on your way to pilot training." I said, "No, sir, that's fine. I'll stay here for 3 years." And I went through flying school at Bartow, Florida. I flew the T-34, the T-28, and checked out in the T-Bird. Then I went to Luke Field in the 100, Scrappy Fair, who's well known in the 100, and Lou Braun, who's probably Mr. 100, were my ops officers. And from there I went to Massawa. Massawa, we had a 124 wing commander from SAC who asked us why we flew formation. And, you know, as I always say, it got worse. But we had a bunch of good young guys, and we pulled alert for a year and a half in Korea out of a 3-year tour in Japan. Not to say it took us a year to get housing there, so our wives got to spend 6 months with us while we're there. And we had a high accident rate, but we had high morale among the young people, and it turned out, all those guys turned out to be really, really good pilots. And all of them in their career ended up to be wing commanders and all this, and they did great. And last night, as an example, we had a real fun time with the guys together.
Did you fly the D models there?
Yes, I flew the D, and they put Doppler in it there, and they'd pull a 3G labs maneuver without even pulling back on the stick. And we finally, towards the end of our tour, they started letting us shoot air-to-ground gunnery. We'd do a little air-to-air, and I would take my flight out, and we'd have 450-gallon tanks, and when we'd empty the tanks, we'd go up there and like we were shooting the dart just to get some sight practice, because all we were getting was SAC training to go, and we all knew we were going to go to Vietnam, every one of us. In fact, we started sending people over there in about 62. And we weren't trained for it, and you know, we were kind of bitter about that.
Were you setting nuke alert at the time?
Yes,
Yeah.
we set a year and a half of nuke alert in a 3-year tour.
Did you set nuke alert in Korea also, or just in?
In Korea only. In Japan, they wouldn't let us have nuclear weapons.
Yeah. How about you, Bob? When did you get in the 100?
Well, I left Japan and went to Willie to be an instructor or training, and I was at Willie for 4 years, and I got an assignment to Benoit, to attack fighter wing Benoit, while I was in check section at Willie. And I went to Cannon, 524th Squadron. I met the short course requirements, so we were supposed to get 25 hours or something in the 100, and basically most everybody that qualified and got all the squares out of the way, I think, ended up with less than 20 hours. So I got about 18 to 20 hours at Cannon, and of course then went to Snake School in the Philippines, and I arrived at Benoit and was assigned to the 416th, which was there. And Benoit then had 5 F-100 squadrons, but anyway, I kind of cut my teeth at Benoit, 4 corps, dropping napes and high drags, and it's pretty good. We had a lot of talent in the squadron. It was the 416th, and I really learned a lot there.
What did you do after Vietnam?
Me?
Yeah.
I came back to Luke, and I flew the F-104s training German pilots in air-to-ground gunnery and air-to-air.
Very good.
And it was a lot of fun. They were pretty well disciplined, and they enjoyed flying, and had a great sense of humor, and I really enjoyed it. And I love the airplane. It's one of the most fun airplanes I ever flew. I've had it to Mach 2.3, and most guys didn't know how to fly. The airplane was built to fly vertical, and all the old F-104 guys flew them in left belly turns, so you could pull it straight up, and all of a sudden you let them roll out and start looking for you, and then you go back and get them.
How about you, Bob? What did you?
After Vietnam, of course, we moved the 416th up to Phuket in '67 and opened up. We were the first squadron at Phuket. I think we got up there about the end of May of '67, and then they brought another squadron from Phan Rang up, and then of course they cranked up Misty, and I was not part of Misty. I decided to stick with my consecutive overseas, which I already knew about, and I went to RAF Lakeney, 48 TAC Fighter Wing.